Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wa mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good evening to especially Professor Abdul Ghaffar Ismail and my fellow friend. I'm Muhamadasrulbinabdmalik. Today we discuss about policy document of Bai Al Sarf issued by Bank Negara Malaysia. What is Bai Al Sarf contract? Bai Al Sarf refers to a contract exchange of money for money of the same or different types of money. Money is a medium of exchange that shall be in the form of currency, gold, silver, or other form accepted by Sharia. In Islam, currency transaction may only be conducted instantly and with a clear value. This is based on the Prophet Muhammad SAW hadith, which stated, exchange of gold for gold, silver for silver, weight for weight, barley for barley, date for date, or salt for salt, shall be in equal quantity and hand to hand by spot. If they differ in type, you may trade them as you wish, provided it is hand to hand without deferment on either side. Hadis riwayat Muslim, Abu Daud, Al-Nasai and Ahmad. Now, we look some detail of Bai Al Sarf policy document issued by Bank Negara Malaysia. On 11 of April 2018, Bank Negara Malaysia issued a policy document on Bai Al Sarf contract. Its aim to promote end-to-end Sharia compliance within the Islamic financial institution by specifying Sharia and operational requirements in relation to its application in Islamic financial transactions. The Sharia requirement highlight salient features and essential conditions of a Bai Al Sarf contract. The policy document, effective from 1st April 2019, accepted for the paragraph 24 for submission requirement, which came into effect immediately. Paragraph 25 stated that Islamic financial institutions that offer products or services which apply by Al Sarf are required to submit an implementation plan to comply with the policy document to Bank Negara Malaysia no later than 11 July 2018. Then, as you can see at the left side is the example of the Bai Al Sarf policy document. Right now, we look into component of Bai Al Sarf contract. Under Bai Al Sarf contract, there are three components. The first one is the seller and buyer as a contracting party. The second one is offer and acceptance as ijab and kabul session. And the last one is a subject matter. For the first one, the seller and buyer as a contracting party shall be a natural person or a legal entity that must have the legal capacity to enter into Bai Al Sarf contract. Legal capacity of a legal entity is defined as the eligibility of an entity to acquire right and assume responsibilities. In Malaysia, legal capacity is subjected to the Contract Act 1950 and the Age of Majority 1971. Any party may enter into the contract through an agent or wakil. The second component is the offer and acceptance, meaning that the ijab and kabul session. A Bai Al Sarf must be entered into through an offer and acceptance between the contracting party. The offer and acceptance may be expressed orally, in writing, or by any other method recognized by Sharia. The last component is the subject matter. The subject matter of Bai Al Sarf shall be currency which is known and delivered by the contracting party during the contract session. The currency in Bai Al Sarf shall be determined and mutually agreed by the contracting party at the time of the execution of the contract. Now, we arrive on salient features of Bai Al Sarf contract. There are four silent features. The first one is delivery of the currency. The delivery and taking position of the exchange currency in all Bai Al Sarf contract or transaction regardless of the currency shall take place in the full before the contract session end. The second one, the same currency. In the event that the exchange currency are the same, the transaction shall be done at the par value. For the third one is, how about the different currency? In the event that the exchange currency are different, the transaction may be done at the prevailing currency rate or mutually agreed rate at the time of the execution of the Bai Al Sarf contract. For the last one is position of the currency. The position of the exchange currency shall be in the form of physical position, qab hakiki, or constructive position, qab hukmi. Now, allow me to illustrate how the Bai Al Sarf contract will be applied. The first illustration is about how Bai Al Sarf contract as a supplementary contract for the currency conversion in a foreign currency trading product such as cross-currency swap as using commodity murabahah contract. Okay, for the first T1, as you can see, the Bai Al Sarf will take into place to spot exchange of the principal of the two currency. For example, here RM 500 million to exchange to US dollar 166.67 million dollar. This spot exchange will be using the Bai Al Sarf contract. After that, the party must be signing of master agreement to undertake sale and purchase of two separate commodity murabahah transaction at every 6-month interval. This is the execution of the wa'ad. After that, after the T0 period, the T3 period, the party continue exchange of the profit payment during the swap life every 6 months. The first one is Islamic finance institution exercise wa'ad to buy the commodity from the customer at the 5% of 500 million ringgit per annum. After that, customer exercise the wa'ad to buy the commodity from the Islamic finance institution at 6-month caliber rate. This one involves the commodity murabahah and the fulfillment of the wa'ad promise, the wa'ad contract. Okay, and the later one is the T5 date, re-exchange of the principal at the pre-agreement rate. Then they must exchange back the US dollar 166.67 million into RM 500 million ringgit Malaysia. This re-exchange must using the Bai Al Sarf contract. If you can see, there are two Bai Al Sarf contract in taking place in this transaction. Then the second illustration of Bai Al Sarf application is about transact during the conversion of the currency, such as during the payment of foreign currency finance installment. The first step is customer provide wa'ad to purchase the property once Islamic finance institution acquire the property. The second process is the Islamic finance institution acquire the property from the UK developer, and then the third process is the Islamic finance institution sell the property to the customer at the price, for example, GBP 300,000, and after that customer will pay the monthly installment to the Islamic finance institution is payable in Malaysia ringgit at the prevalence exchange rate on the day of the payment. For example, customer need to pay GBP 1000 every month. This means at the first period of the rate, GBP, for example, 1 GBP equivalent to RM 5 ringgit, then customer will pay 5000 ringgit. For example, another example, if later on the rate is GBP is 1 GBP equivalent to 4 ringgit 50 cent. Then customer will pay the Islamic financial institution 4,500 ringgit. If the later day the rate is GBP 1 GBP equivalent to 4 ringgit, then the customer will pay the Islamic financial institution equivalent to ringgit Malaysia 4,000 ringgit. That's how the Bai Al Sarf implement. At the point of time the customer need to pay, then the Bai Al Sarf will take place. Okay, right now we look into a comment on a policy paper by Al Sarf by BNM. For me, they have a 4 comment. The first one, Bai Al Sarf correspond to the Sharia compliance. According to the hadith, the exchange of gold for gold must be done instantly with the same quality and amount. Because the transaction must take place instantly, forward transactions such as future delivery are not permitted. Prior to that, all kinds of currency must follow the same rule or law of exchange that apply to gold and silver. Foreign currency exchange as trade commodity must be done by currency exchange regulated under BNM and spot using Bai Al Sarf contract. The second one, Bai Al Sarf preventing riba, maisir and gharar activity. How Bai Al Sarf may preventing these 3 activity is the exchange money must be delivered and take position in a full before the contract period end. It means currency exchange must in a lany spot. If the exchange currency cannot be delivered, the currency delivery shall be prolonged only if the extension is due to establish usual business practice, uruf tijari, caused by operational restriction or any anticipated interruption to the business. Earns money, urban and conditional option, Qiyar al-Shart, are not permitted under Bai Al Sarf. The third one is Bai Al Sarf in hedging value of the currency. Bai Al Sarf is less ideal for commercial transaction involve genuine commodities transaction that need stringent rule and agreement and involve management operation in a lengthier supply cycle. Therefore, there is a need in a foreign exchange on a large scale. Bank Negara Malaysia propose hedging technique better through the future market and the other derivative instruments such as murabaha. The last one, Bai Al Sarf in T2 transaction. The practice of delivery of money in Bai Al Sarf, for instance, on a day 2 after transaction date T2 is construed to have taken place after the contract session. However, this practice may be allowed due to established customary business practice as a uruf tijari arising from operational constraint. In addition, the delivery of money beyond the contract session may also be allowed in the event of unexpected disruption. Last but not least, I will show the arrangement of Bai Al Sarf contract with the others contract or concept. The first one is wakalah or agency. Contracting parties may appoint an agent to perform Bai Al Sarf and take custody of or transfer cash on their behalf. The second one, wa'ad, as a promise. A party may make a unilateral binding pledge wa'ad to another party to enter into Bai Al Sarf in the future. The party may make 2 distinct unilateral binding pledge wa'dan to each other, each prompted by a different set of events to engage into Bai Al Sarf at a later period. The parties may enter into a mutual binding pledge muwaddah to carry out Bai Al Sarf in the future. The arrangement must only be used for hedging. This example, as you see when I illustrate in the first illustration previously. The third one, Ijarah al-Khadamat, services contract. Bai Al Sarf may be arranged with the Ijarah al-Khadamat service contract, which include but are not limited to, example, transfer of money remittance in a different currency, cash withdrawal in a different currency, and other related service such as the service of counting the coin. The last one is payment of debt in different currency. The payment of debt in different currency shall be mutually agreed by the debtor and creditor and effected at the prevailing exchange rate or the mutual agreed rate on the day of payment or not pre-agreed rate. This example I show you that previously in the illustration 2. That's all for me for today. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.